Hello, good evening. Oh, good evening, everyone. This is Yemi Abulu Eyuntari, and you're joining us live on the Voiceover Talk Show. SaffronSACAP welcomes you all. It is, I would say, good morning somewhere in the world, good afternoon, and maybe good night somewhere. This is a big, big, big global village. And we just welcome everyone who's joined us here today, everyone who's allowed us into your space. We're grateful. Actually, I've just had our host, Giz, has just had to rush off to change her laptop because it just died on her. Amazing, amazing, just our luck. We've been sat here for a few minutes and it just chose its own time, but hey, this show must go on. While we're here, we're waiting for a couple other people to join us, but I will also be your host on Facebook as always. So all my Facebook people, hello. Please leave your messages, leave your comments, leave your questions. Just drop anything in there. You know that I will always pass it on to Giz and let her know what the questions are. Right now, today, we actually wanted to start from a review of what we've been talking about in the last 4 weeks. We've been looking at various issues around racism, mental health, young people, teenagers, and how this correlates, and also how we can look at building confidence and resilience amongst our young folk, but also how do they cope with racism and mental health. I believe the first week we had our psychologist, we had Debbie, and she really took the reins. She put us through so much information around signs, coping mechanisms for young people, how they address these issues. We actually, I believe there was a phrase that we coined from this topic, which was respond. How do you respond and not react? So it's, you know, when you're faced with these situations, if you react, then you probably react violently, you probably react defensively. But if we respond intelligently, we respond with information, we respond, sometimes you end up having to teach people what they're ignorant of. And maybe because you respond instead of reacting, might actually change their opinions and the way they see things, and hopefully the way they then will react or respond to issues of racism, when many times I believe some people do not even know that they're portraying these, you know, these feelings or these actions towards other people. So I suppose as much as we are faced with racist issues, we also need to lend an ear to some understanding, the fact that a lot of ignorance is plays within these circles, and that also there needs to be a lot more understanding between all parties. This afternoon, I just really want to welcome our guests that we have on air at the moment. I'm going to welcome Josh Ebiko. Please, Josh, you know, Giz is going to come and do her genge because she's the lady who does the arts, and she's a performance woman. Yeah, trust me to do my teaching skills. But hey, please feel free to unmute yourself, introduce yourself to us, and be great to hear from you. Thanks, Josh.
Absolutely. First, I want to say thank you to you, Yemi, and to the SaffronSACAP organization and all the listeners. I'm blessed and honored and humbled to be able to be in this space and in solidarity with all of you, talking about some really great things today. By way of introduction, my name is Joshua Chubiojo Ibikwo. I was born in Nigeria, but I've lived in the United States for most of my life. I grew up in the heartland of America, and now I'm living on the East Coast in Washington, D.C. By trade, I'm a product manager, which means I manage development teams who build websites, apps, algorithms, all manner of good things. I'm currently an entrepreneur working on a startup that is, you know, really rapidly coming to fruition. So that's a big blessing. Interestingly enough, we actually work on products that are kind of tangential to the mental health space. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of where those things come up in our discussion today. I'm also a scholar, so I love to write and love to read. I own a website called melanation.com where I publish articles about Nigerian politics, about American politics. I also have a podcast called Nigeria to the Future, where I discuss the possibilities that we as Nigerians harbor in our country and in our people. So that's really near and dear to my heart. And I'm currently working on 3 different books as well that are all focused on bridging the cultural gap between Black people all over the world, because again, we have more in common, much more in common than we do that divides us. So in my work, I really hope to highlight that and share that feeling of one love with every Black person on the planet. And, you know, again, today, as a Nigerian man, I'm really happy to be in this space and to talk about mental health, and the interactions between racism and mental health, and then also envision a future that works for us, and allows us to live healthfully, to live intentionally, and to be well in our communities. So again, I'll just close and say, Yemi, I'm so glad that we can have these conversations today, because I can tell and I already know that these are conversations that all around the world will shift the paradigm for so many people, myself included. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It is a pleasure that you can join us this evening. And I know we've had quite a few discussions over the last few days, and I am really excited and looking forward to hearing so much from you. One of the main reasons why we actually really are glad to have you on board this evening is because we've talked about a lot of racism, mental health support, coping mechanisms, and all of this in the UK. But really, like I said earlier on, we live in a global village, and it will be great to hear some of the information from across the waters. I don't know who this is, but you are part of our family. Once you have joined us, we welcome you into the family. And it's Elim Nachi. Can you please unmute yourself and just say hello? We just want to welcome you.
Hi, my name is Elim Nachi. Yeah, I'm a friend of Ngozi.
Okay, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's good to have you here. And is this your first time joining us?
No, I've been with you guys for a long time.
Oh, I am so sorry.
No problem whatsoever. No problem whatsoever.
Keeping track. Giz will be joining us in a few minutes. Like I said earlier, her laptop just shut down just as we started. So she will be with us in a couple of minutes. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Jacqueline Adebija, welcome all the way from Kaduna. Jacqueline is the program director for hello sis, for Invicta Radio. Introduce yourself, sis.
Oh, you've done it all. My name is Jacqueline Adebija. Head of programs at Invicta FM 98.9. You can stream us live on www.invictarfmng.com. And yeah, a part of the family, a proud Saffron member. And yeah, so I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Still at work though, trying to, I actually had to come into a quiet place to talk, but okay, we're here.
Yeah, we're here. Let's move on.
Right.
You joined the program last week, isn't it, or probably the week before? And I remember that you did join in the discussion around racism and mental health. Do you just want to drop us a couple of lines of we're doing a quick review?
Okay. Yeah, last week I remember talking about the toll that racism/colonialism had taken on the mindset of not just those in diaspora, but also those at home back here in Nigeria. It's easy to just think that it is only those or the Black people, especially the youths in diaspora, who have to contend with things like that. However, it goes way beyond that. There's a lot more going on. And I remember saying last week that as a matter of fact, you would find that there are, well, I wouldn't say research, but if there's a lot that points to the fact that Blacks and Africans in diaspora actually carry the pride of the continent even more than those who are back here at home. And one cannot divorce the way we feel and the way we act. Because I mean, you've got to ask yourself why a politician, having stolen money or embezzled money, would think that the best place to invest that same money would be outside the place where he got that money. Because as convoluted as it might sound, if our politicians who would embezzle or who have embezzled money would only invest right back where they started, I do not think that we would have found ourselves in this sorry state in which we found ourselves. I mean, the examples are few, but they're there, of people who have fingers pointed at them to, well, not good fingers, in the sense that there are people, politicians, I don't want to mention names so that I don't run the risk of slander, but you know, these people have said these people, it's Nigeria's money. But there are some of them who we know that have started schools, and those schools have produced good products, okay? However, we also know of those who have had that kind of money and decided to invest in schools outside Nigeria, to invest in refineries outside Nigeria, to invest in hospitals outside Nigeria, real estate outside Nigeria. Can you imagine if we had all of this right back here in Nigeria?
Yeah.
It would have been something. So you've just got to ask yourself that what is the mindset of the average politician who thinks that I need to, you know, keep enriching myself at the detriment of my brother, but not just that, that whatever I am going to do with that money must not be done back here.
I think most of the time, if they actually looked at the supporting young people, then maybe if they had that in mind, then maybe it might change the mindset. But until then, we keep hoping, you know, and we keep.
It's not good that we have that. For me, I feel we should have that bigger picture. Like, there's a lot more going on than just what the white man is perpetrating on the average black man outside the shores of Nigeria. What they did way back then still has ripple effects today. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Right. I echo you, because I believe when we were younger and our currency was on par and the currency was 1-to-1, even at 1-to-4, we still carried some clout. You know, there was that respect, even if it was the fact that we're respecting you for your money. But at the moment, I think that a lot of that has been lost somewhere along the line, and all of this continue to add to the fact that our young people continue to suffer economically, economically, mentally, social, cultural context, and everything. But this is why we continue to look at, and these, even if we do not recognize it, can also be a contributor to social, cultural, mental distress. Because when you're financially on the negative, stress comes in, mental health issues will come in, worry comes in, then look at the social issues that will come in. So a family will start to worry about money. You see issues that domestic violence will ensue. All of this all come around in this pot, and mental health stress comes into play. So yes, this experience and effects of racism is not just one-sided. I think we should start looking at it holistically. Yeah, welcome, Giz. Thank you so much.
I'm right here, but I need to, like, pardon me, I'm right here, but I need to, like, start doing some stuff. So just don't think that I'm gone. I'm here.
We see you. We see you. Wait for you to come back and update us on everything that you picked up. Thanks for joining us, Jacqueline.
Will do.
Welcome, Eco Bulus. You are very, very welcome, my old mate.
Thank you.
Good to have you on board, Eco. Thank you.
Yep.
All the way from Abuja.
I'm in the office, so
I know, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Yeah.
Okay, we're the last 3 weeks, this is our concluding week. We've been talking about our young people, racism, the correlation between racism, mental health, and coping mechanisms. So I'm just going to quickly, before I hand over to Giz, look at an issue we're talking about last week, which was making sense of mental health, mental distress, and the recovery in social cultural context. So I think that was when we had the phrase respond instead of reacting. So when Giz is settled, I will hand over the reins back to you and give myself a pat on the back.
Thank you so much. Oh my days. In good old theatre fashion, the show must go on. I'm really sorry. I logged on and everything logged me off and I had to make a dash, and I'm now settled. So thank you so much. And it's really nice to be back again this week. I will introduce myself for those who do not know me. My name is Giz Ojiako, and I'm your director for programs for SaffronSACAP. It's lovely to have LM, my thespian colleague, is on tonight. It's a pleasure to have you on, LM. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Annie.
I have Iko Bulus. Yes, we've recognized you in the house all the way from Nigeria. Thank you so much. Jacqueline, as always, our Northern Queen. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for the support you always give to Saffron. Omoti is just about to log on. I want to say good evening, Omoti, and happy birthday for yesterday. Yes, I saw you getting your groove on. May God bless you and many more years ahead. Or wishes from Saffron. I want a big shout out to our Facebook family. Good evening. Thank you for always blessing us with your presence. Feel free to write your comments and whatever questions you may have today. Obviously, you know Yemi is always your anchor, and she will get those questions over to me. So we are in our concluding session. We've been debating, is it our third or fourth week? But I think it is the fourth week. I checked it. And we started this segment, as I said last week, on the backlash of what happened in the UK when we had the England versus, who did they play again? I don't even remember, because, you know, what overshadowed that was just ridiculous. And as an organization, you know, we focused on our young people and their mental health. And when you look at the fact that so many of our young people are involved in sports, you know, and sports is one of the, I would say, one of the best outlets for those who suffer from mental health, because it's a positive distraction away from whatever the challenges they may be facing are. So then on the back of that football match to be vilified, and when you think about it, many of the young people who did face a lot of backlash and racial abuse, you know, were not on the pitch that day. You know, so we're not just talking about the 3 footballers who were directly attacked. We are talking of the backlash, the domino effect within our community. And we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks how our young people should handle this, how they are handling it. And like Yemi rightly said, are they reacting or are they responding? And if you listened in 2 weeks ago, you would have heard from 2 young gentlemen who came on the program, and wow, did they blow us away with their response. And they responded. That's exactly what they did. They had refused bluntly to react to any form of racism. And last week we looked at know who you are. And why did we look at know who you are? Because one of the ways of responding to the racism that you may find within the society that you are in, within your places of work, within your schools, wherever you may be, is once you know who you are, it's going to be very difficult for the abuse, you know, to penetrate. Now, hear me well, it does not mean that everybody is going to be able to expose that level of resilience. But we need to start from somewhere, and from somewhere is knowing who you are, this identity, you know. So if you came up to me, I remember when I was growing up here, I was doing my secondary school in the UK, and we used to plait our hair with thread. And every time I went to school, I was on a Sunday night, I would go to sleep crying because I know Monday morning I am going to face torrents of abuse. Okay, they called me all sorts of names, everything under the sun because of a hairstyle. Okay, and I'm not gonna lie, then it gave me a chip on my shoulder. I didn't want that hairstyle. I didn't want to be associated because of the level of abuse that came with it. Okay, but why did that happen? Because I didn't know who I was. You understand? I didn't understand at such a young age who I was. And this is the message we need to be sending out to our young people. Be proud of who you are. You come from somewhere. Don't allow anybody to change that for you. Especially those of us parents who have children in, you know, the diaspora. Teach your children the names of the places they come from. It's very important. All of my children have English names and they have Igbo Nigerian names, and they answer their Nigerian names. Learn to pronounce the name properly. Okay, if you can pronounce Mr. Singh's name, you can pronounce Ngozi Chukwuka. That's my name, you can say that. Giz is a pet name given to me by my father, I'm proud of it. But these are the things, these are the messages that we need to get out there. These are the sense of identity we need to give our children. The language, let's teach our children to be able to converse in their language and be proud of it. You know, so this is what we're looking at, and this is the final segment. You know, I always get sad when we're closing on a segment because I'm hoping, you know, that we're really reaching somebody. You know, it's not just about doing this and coming out and sitting in here and looking nice. That is not what we're about. It's more about how many people's lives are we touching? You know, so building confidence and resilience in coping with racism and mental health. And today, wow, are we not blessed? I've always said it. You see, we said it, guys, when we did our 1 year in June, we told you that Saffron is blessed. You lot didn't believe us. We are blessed. Yeah, I'm shouting that from the rooftops. And I tell you why I'm saying this, because who God places in our paths are amazing people. You know, we've got such an amazing team anyway, but we always get people who want to come on and, you know, work with us, collaborate with us, and partner with us. Because remember what we always say to you guys, we can't do this alone. Yeah, remember what I said last week, last week, decisions were made years ago around a table in 1884, and we were not part of that discussion. And as a result, every fallout you are seeing, yeah, okay, and this is 1884 we're talking about. I didn't even go back to slavery because that's just taking us way back. 1884, the Berlin Conference, the scramble for the partition of West Africa. Every African person was discussed. Not one African was at that table. Oh. Today, guys, I am saying to you as a community, I am talking to the African community, I am talking to the Caribbean community. You need to sit at these tables to hear what is being said. You want the change, you need to be the change. And this is what we say in Saffron, you know, please come out, please come together. This is our round table. You understand? You need to be at this table so that we can talk, we can answer, we can challenge. Good evening, Wura, and we can come out with solutions. So after all said and done, I am about to introduce an amazing, I only met him this evening and I'm blown away. And you know how I am, I adopt all of you, yeah, and I've adopted him as my son, so be very careful with your trying to get to know him. But it's a very open stage, as you know, and today we have been blessed with the presence of a very, I would call him young, enterprising gentleman, and his name is Joshua Ebikwo. And Joshua is currently in Washington, D.C., but he's a native of, I would say, Kogi State, if I'm correct. Okay. He's based in Washington, D.C. He's a believer, a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, and scholar who is focused on uniting the Nigerian diaspora and domestic populations in one voice. So cultural reform. As the president of New Wave Nigeria, Joshua and his colleagues help to distribute resources to at-risk youth. As founder of the Blackbird Technology Group, he is focused on democratizing access to innovation worldwide. As a scholar, he is focused on bridging cultural gaps between Black people globally, producing content that uplifts and inspires Nigerians to believe in positive change. He has a certificate in economic development from Oxford University and a bachelor's degree in supply chain engineering and management technology with a minor in organizational leadership from the Purdue University, West Lafayette. So guys, not only do we have a young, enterprising young man, we have a very intelligent, young, enterprising young man. And I know when I hand over the floor to Joshua, we are all gonna go away with something. So Joshua, all I can say is the floor is yours. We are very, very humbled to have you amidst all of us, and please take it away.
Wow. It's like, I just have to say, first and foremost, thank you to everybody who has joined us today. What you said is so true and so inspiring. And it's actually the piece, it's the missing link in our liberation. Decisions were made hundreds of years ago, not by anybody who is alive today. But we bear the consequences of those decisions, even today. And we'll share some of those consequences as we talk about them through the lens of safeguarding child well-being and mental health and racism. We'll talk about these things. But it must be said that we do not have to accept these consequences any longer. The minute that we decide, as Giz said, that we know who we are, and we know who we are not, I must add, who we are not. That was a really important lesson for me to learn growing up in America, who I'm not. We can begin to come together to devise strategies to stand up our well-being and to defend it and sustain it. And so I am really honored and humbled and blessed to be speaking with everybody who is in this room and everybody who is listening to this conversation. And my prayer is that God grants me wisdom to just share from my heart, and that somebody out there finds value in the words that I say today. But I'd like to begin our at least my contribution to the conversation, by starting with mental health. Because that is the conclusionary topic of today. So I'd like to start there. And I want to say about mental health that from an American perspective, it is a very personal thing. We don't really talk about mental health from a community standpoint. We don't talk about mental health from a preventative standpoint. We don't always talk about mental health from a believable standpoint, if that makes sense. A very, very good and recent example is Simone Biles, recently withdrawing from several events in the Olympics. I really wish I could just share the amount of discourse that was shared about not believing Simone Biles was dealing with a mental health crisis. Now, of course, we're talking about one of the most decorated Olympians in history. She wasn't scared of anybody on that stage. It was not about that. But there was a very serious, now in her case, potentially life-threatening issue that she and her team wanted to address in the most holistic way. And that, unfortunately, it included her withdrawing from several events. But I would say that is a vignette of what mental health is like in America. You have a job to do, whether it is student or CEO, and you're expected to do that job. And if you can't do that job, now, when we talk about mental health, we can talk about mental health conditions not as disabilities, but as things that kind of pull us away from our work for a little bit. And that's in one category. Now, in America, we haven't even started to talk about people with actual physical alternative abilities. And that is another discussion because, I mean, up until very recently, a person with disabilities could not have in their checking account more than $2,000. They couldn't have it. So there are many things in this country that operate suboptimally for people who are marginalized. And so to give a small picture of what it's like to grow up in America during this time, I'll start from my youth and say, you know, much like Giz shared, the racism really starts at the schoolyard and the bullying and the jokes and, you know, the names that you get called and, you know, the fun that's poked at you and kind of these things. But it evolves. And, you know, probably the most significant experience for people of my generation, Black people of my generation growing up in America was the murder of Trayvon Martin. Because that was something that really for us, you know, there was a large period where like racism, of course, is an American thing. Like it's, and when I say that, I just mean it's baked into our not our culture, but the American dominant culture. And so, of course, racism was like a feature of my life, whether I knew it or not, for the totality of my time in America. But what I would say is there was a period of childhood where we all felt like somewhat safe. We felt somewhat okay, you know? I mean, like we got bullied, but you know, hey, that's life. But I would say in President Obama's second term, you know, this is 2012 kind of time, social media had really started to proliferate, and now the images that you could see on social media were vast, and you had access to them 24/7. And so what began to happen was at that time, this phenomena that I call digital lynching is what I call this, began to take place, where you would get on your social media and you'd be scrolling, chatting with your mates, making jokes. And then all of a sudden you would scroll and you would see, boom, without any warning, a Black person being killed, you know? And I remember the first time this happened to me. This was my first year of university. I was on my way out to football practice. I played football in college briefly, and I ran track in college for, you know, my entirety of college. But I will never forget the feeling of just utter gut-wrenching shock. You know, I mean, at first I didn't. It was hard to even like conceptualize that what I saw was really real. You know, it was really, really real. A Black man had lost his life at the hands of police officers. And this was Tamir Rice. Tamir Rice was a 12-year-old boy. He was about the same age as my brother currently is today. The police came on the scene and they'd shot him within 12 seconds. Didn't talk to him, didn't ask him any questions, didn't surveil the scene. It was an immediate action. And, you know, that's where I'll make the first point about mental health in America, is that there are really, really, really damaging effects for people who experience that racism, of course. I mean, our brother Tamir Rice lost his life that day. But there are similarly severe consequences for people who observe and are witness to those crises of racism. One of the really, really critical disorders or conditions that come into play here are post-traumatic stress disorder, which can, again, happen from a number of reasons. But even just seeing things like that on social media can contribute to the way that we experience the world around us. So I'll go forward to a recent example. This happened in the summer of 2020. This happened, I want to say, right before the large scale demonstrations that ensued from the George Floyd murder. Somebody really close to me was really good friends with an individual who was shot on Facebook Live by police officers in the town that I grew up in, Indianapolis, Indiana. We knew him. We knew this person. We knew his name. We knew his family. We had hung out with him before, and he was a good kid. I mean, of course, no person is perfect, but he was a good guy, and nobody really expected anything particularly to happen that day. But I remember this person coming to me and saying, I saw the video of Dre being shot. And, for me in that moment, it was really difficult to offer counsel to that person, because I was also in a moment where I probably could have used counseling myself as well. And so, to that point, I'll say that these digital lynchings still occur, and they are one of the marquee ways that racism affects in a very deep way the mental health of young Black people. I mean, because young Black people are all over social media, and so in a lot of ways, it's actually, I don't want to say it's impossible to insulate yourself from these things, but it's very difficult to do so. This is actually a point where I'll call out and say my startup is actually developing a product to remedy this. We're developing a social media tool that makes use of an algorithm that performs sentiment analysis to understand what kind of tweet this is, or what kind of Instagram post or Facebook post this is. Is this a Facebook, or is this a post that contains a lot of harmful language? If so, then we can hide that from the viewer. If not, then we can display that to the user. But that's the kind of work that my startup does. Those are the kinds of things that we like to build. So yeah, I'd say now in terms of support for Black people, the fact of the matter is that we are our support. In the US, if you go to the CDC, there are links to various resources, quote unquote, but really, Yemi, this reminds me of the child protection versus safeguarding conversation. Most of the resources exist for people who are in the middle of a crisis or who have experienced a crisis. They are for people who are already in a difficult place with substance abuse. They're for people who are already on the brink of or experiencing extreme domestic violence. And it's important to have resources for crisis, absolutely. But it's also preferable that we have resources that help us prevent crisis, which is what our community is for. By leaning into community, even if it's just talking, these are things that can go such a long way in terms of helping remedy the ill effects of growing up in America. So it's actually interesting, because if you examine American history, the Black community has always provided that for itself. We can look at examples such as the development of gospel music and kind of the stories around why gospel music developed, why certain kinds of dance developed. We can look at the development of hip hop. That is also a really, really important place where we can examine how communities form around shared trauma. And it is important that we continue to find ways to address these things with each other so that we can have healing. So the last example that I'll share of a remedy before I cede the floor for questions or comments is I actually engaged in what was called a racial healing circle, which was a really transformative event where a group of 4 elders, and so at this time I was living in Chicago, a group of 4 elders just led us through a discussion where we talked about how we felt at work, how we felt in relation to the events that were transpiring around us. And I cannot say enough how just being in a space with people who already understood everything I could say without me having to say anything was so healing for me. I mean, working in a place where, you know, at this time I worked in a mostly white company, and I was trying really hard to do diversity, equity, and inclusion reform within the company. I often felt that, like, no matter what I said, no matter how many words I used, which words I used, nobody understood. I mean, at the core, they just didn't get it, you know? But this racial healing circle was not like that. I mean, it was nice because just being there, I mean, we'd had this practice where we called observe silence, where sometimes somebody would say something and, you know, everybody hadn't a lot of time. So let's say I had 5 minutes, and if my comment only took 1 minute, we would just let that 4 minutes be silent. And it was so powerful to see how much was said in that silence, how much understanding happened in that silence, how much comforting happened in that silence. And so these are the things that we need to begin to stand up and to do for our communities. And it gets back to what I'll say is the overarching point about liberation for Black people. It is time for us to take responsibility for our communities. And it is time for us to stop looking to Western governments to assist us, because to Yemi's, or to Giz's point, the same Western governments were the same people around that table in Berlin, you know? They're the same people. So I'm not trying to villainize anybody, but what I would say is they're looking out for them, so we have to look out for us. And we have to do that in economics. We have to do that in politics, but we also need to make sure that we're doing that in well-being. And that can just start with your family, your coworkers, or whoever it may be, but being in a space where we can all live and lean into our experiences with Blackness and being Black, being Nigerian, being African. That's how we heal. That's how we come to say, you know what? The squalor that I see people living in my neighborhood, I don't want them to live like that. So we'll now do something where we can help support our brothers and sisters. They don't even have to know us. They don't get anything. We don't get anything from them outside of the satisfaction that we know that every human has dignity, and to see a person living in dignity is a good thing. So with that, I'd love to take any questions and you know, engage in discussion with everybody here, because this is an important topic, and I would love to hear others' perspectives as well.
Whoa. I said we were going to come away with stuff, and my gosh, you know, you've really educated us. So thank you so much for that. And as Josh said, please, anybody who has anything they would wish to ask Josh, anything you would wish to add to what he has said, even if there's something you want to disprove, because hey, come on, we're not always going to all be on the same page, but you know, I would like to sit here and watch anybody disprove anything he said, because, you know, Yemi, you've raised your hand, so I'm going to ask you to unmute, which you are. Go ahead, Yemi.
Oh, do you know what? I just need to comment. I think my neck hurts because I've been like nodding all through as you were talking. I'm just like nodding and going, yeah, he's marking those points. And one that you said, which was actually one of the last things you spoke about really hit me, because I have been I've been reading on a research, a mental health original research, which was community-centered interventions for improving public mental health amongst, and it says adults, but you know what, the young shall grow. So we'll just take the adults out and put from ethnic minority populations in the UK. It's a scoping review, and it was correspondence by Cleo Baskin. But where I went, and I want to focus on where the conclusions that there is a high quality of evidence regarding community-centered interventions that are focused on improving public mental health among ethnic minority groups. You know, before we started and we had our little meeting, this was what I was saying, that there are interventions that are out there for our communities. They were initially, they're not tailored to, but because of where we start thinking that we need to start looking at ourselves, supporting ourselves and being responsible for ourselves, a lot of interventions are now focused directly around mental health and Black African communities, ethnic communities. And also the fact that decision makers need more scientific evidence. Now, if we're not talking about it, how then do they get this evidence? If we're not bringing it to light, and we're happy to sit in our little corners and watch from one corner and not contribute, then how do we know what really is on your mind? And how do we generally complain, oh, they're not taking us into account, this thing is not working for us. But what have you said? Who have you talked to? How have you communicated that thought to the people who make the decisions? And how have you tried to get into these communities that make the decisions? I agree that in Berlin, we were not invited there and all of that. But right now, we don't need to be invited. We need to put our noses into the matter. You know, we need to step up, step out, and step in. And so our next steps are, well, within this review, the next steps were to map promising community activities and interventions that are currently being provided and see how this help emerging evidence. So, hey, what this review, from my understanding, is saying is that we need to stand up, we need to get in there, we need to put these discussions on the table and let people who make these decisions understand how to incorporate us into the policies so they work for us as well as the wider community.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yemi. And just to add to that, just before anybody else comes out to speak, you know, you touched on, you know, scientific evidence. If we don't have evidence out there, then there is nothing for them to research on. And if there is no research, there will not be any outcomes, there will not be any results, you understand? So how do we get this evidence? We've always said our community is very closed. We worry about what Mr. B is going to say about Mr. C's family, because Mr. B's family, you know, is supposedly doing well. You don't live in Mr. B's family, so don't stand outside and be making such assumptions and dying in silence, you know, for want of use of better words. We need to talk. It is very important that we talk. I said talk, I didn't say gossip. There's a massive difference between talking about your situation and gossiping about the situation. When you talk about the situation, you are talking in order to lend help to the situation, intervention to the situation with hopeful, possible, positive outcomes. When you gossip about the situation, you are adding to the situation's problem. So it's just like pouring oil onto fire. We need to be very, very intentional in what we are doing. So the process needs to be very intentional. You said, I love when you said, you know, that we need to come together, not just economically and politically, but well-being, family, co-workers. And, you know, as an organization, we always have families come on. We have people who work in various sectors, you know, that come on. We have police, we have social workers. And, you know, when you said that, what stuck in my mind was how many of us in the community work in these various areas. We have police, we have social workers, we have nurses, we have doctors. What are these people? What are we doing for our community?
Yeah.
So Yemi said, you need to be at that table. They're already there. They're already in those places.
They're in those places, but they're not at the table.
That's what I'm saying.
They're doing the 9 to 5 and putting the money in the pocket and doing that.
There you go. So you see that, that is the thing. So they are in those circles, but there is what you call the inner circle. Yeah. And I know somebody's going to pop up soon and say, Giz, it's difficult. It's hard to get in there. Let me tell you something about life. Yeah. If you don't stand up and fight for what you want, you're not getting it. It's really that simple. So as a community, guys, like what Josh said, you know, we need to come together. We need to do this together as a people, you know. Other communities are doing it. I don't have to mention names. Other communities are locked. Yeah, they don't let you in. It doesn't matter who you are, you're not coming in. So we need to be that intentional as well and learn to do the same. Yeah. So please,
for example, Giz, I'm sorry, darling.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I came up now, because part of my work is research and policies and all of this. So if I came up with a research around our communities, our Black African communities, around mental health, around safeguarding, and the issues that I find and have found in my little smaller researches have been that our communities don't want to talk to you. You'd give somebody a form to fill out, you know, one of these information fact-finding forms, you know, that I could probably collate then and interpret into a document. And where you're asking somebody, have you ever experienced this? How, when, what? Because by the time they get to how, when, what, they don't want to give you that information. The first answer is no. So that has blocked the fact that they're not going to tell you anything.
Sure.
No matter how anonymous you make these, many people don't want to talk. Say if I can't use my experience to help somebody else, then that experience has been wasted. It's just been a wasted, harmful, hurtful journey that I'm not using to change someone else's life or to ease someone else's experience as well. And it's a shame. And it just comes down to the fact that we continue to hide and hide and hide.
Okay, thank you. I think Omoti has her hand up. Omoti, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
You said something about scientific evidence. Yeah. My question goes that how do we prove a scientific evidence for the decision maker? Yeah. For example, in a place of work, there's some undercover racist people that can flip whatever you say. I understand that, okay, if anything is happening, put it down, you know, write the date, write everything. But at the end of the day, they will tag the person as being emotional. So how do we go about the scientific evidence you are talking about? Because I have lots of people complaining that they just have to carry on because they are minority and they will flip the script against them as being emotional. Thank you.
Okay, can I just jump in there quickly?
Part
of this scientific evidence is research. You know what I was just talking about research, that if you put out the issues that you're experiencing and we document them, we come up with a list of questions that interpret those experiences. And there's lots of many people that are experiencing it. If you gather 20 of them together and put all their experiences together within that and interpret it into an evidential document, that is your evidence. The problem we have is all those people who talk it, refuse to put it, to give you the information so you can gather it together. When you put it all together, people's experiences, all of that, it becomes your scientific, what was that? Your scientific
Evidence.
evidence.
Yeah.
So it's about getting everyone to put their thoughts, their experiences, what they expect, all of that, outcomes, what they would, the change they want as well, putting it all down and then putting it into a document. That is your evidence. Without evidence, policies do not get written, or policies that are effective and
do not get written. Yeah.
That means we have to have people in our community that are professionals. They have to come together or create an office for such. That means they have to have it in wherever country you have. I think it's very important. This
is why we have this platform. This is one of the reasons, because I have a background in health and social policy. This is one of the reasons why Saffron is here, so that we can gather our community intelligence and put it down and put it forth and put it at that table. But if people are not giving you that evidence, it makes it the more harder to get this out. And we'll continue to complain and continue to whine. Complain is a very polite word. We'll continue to whine and not have intelligent information to give forth. And we don't look intelligent. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's very, very disappointing, but we don't look intelligent if we can't put forth that intelligence.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think Josh has his hand up. Josh, go ahead. I'll ask you to unmute. Yeah, you go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Omutsi, I think your question is excellent. And, I would just share that, to Yemi's point, this research it's very effective. It's very effective. So at my last company, I did mention that I wanted to do some diversity, equity, and inclusion reform within the organization. And the first thing that we did in order to, make those reforms was we actually compiled some research. So what we did was we just created a simple survey on Google Forms that allowed us to collect information about age, race, sex, position in the company, and some other data points like that. And then there were some more qualitative questions about, do you feel supported by your manager? Do you feel like you have access to resources? Do you feel like there's an equitable path to promotion for you specifically? And we asked some questions like that. And then armed with that, we went to the managing director of the firm and we said, this is how the company is doing with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And based on this report, it makes sense that we need to do some sort of organizational education as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. With the facts in front of him, he had two choices. Say yes, because it's true, or two, say no and stand on and own the fact that this company, this organization does not value your health, or we don't value you actually as the diversity that you bring to the company. And of course, no company wants to be on the record for that. So with that information, you also get documentation, because then you can say, we showed you your posture. We showed you how you were doing with DE&I, and you said that you were fine. Well, let's see what legal now, because now if you want to, if you're in a situation where, the organization still doesn't want to change, then you can take that document and then you can go to whatever legal recourse you have to say, this is what our organization is like. We have taken these steps to inspire change. The organization does not want to change. So now they have to answer the question, are they really an equal opportunity employer? Like, they have to say they are, but are they really? Because the data doesn't show that. Mm-hmm. And then now the onus is on them to act and to improve. And what I would also like to say is, there are times in this struggle for liberation that we just have to shake the dust off our sandals and recognize that this person or this organization has views and beliefs that don't align with mine or who I am. And for my well-being, it's better for me to just leave that organization. Now, I'll say not everybody has that luxury to do so. But the truth of the matter is, if one even has to stay there, it's good to know that I have tried, and this is just who these people are. So when I go to punch my clock, I can just punch my clock and go. And I don't have any time for anybody's wahala now, because I know what it is, and now they know what it is, you know?
Awesome.
And so I actually would say I had to jump. Actually, I need to take my brother to, or I need to pick up my brother from his camp. Fortunately, I would really love to stay and continue this conversation, but I've got to go now. So I do want to just extend my thanks, Omoti, to you for your question, an excellent question, and to everybody in the group for creating a platform for such powerful discussion. And I want to encourage Yemi, Giz, SaffronSACAP, Jacqueline, everybody here to, no matter what form these conversations take, even if they're just in the market, like any way that we can encourage our brother or our sister, any way that we can spread positivity and hope, like we will look back in 20 years, 5 years, and we'll say that, wow, the fact that we live in a different Nigeria, the fact that we live in a changed and transformed community, that all happened because we believed.
Sure.
Simply. So thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate you all.
Thank you so much. I think I can just say, Josh, I know this will not be the last time we see you. And I just want to say on behalf of Saffron, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. And we won't keep you so much longer because I'm sure you're going to encounter traffic. But yeah, we will be calling you back real soon. So you watch out for that.
Absolutely. It's been a blessing for me. Like this has uplifted my week, and I'm recharged. I'm hopeful. Now I can go forward with the week with a refresh.
Awesome. And once you come onto Saffron, you become family. So I never let family go. So you take care.
All right. I love you all.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
I know Ellen, you have your hand up. Sorry about that. Are you able to unmute and say what you wanted to say? Ellen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead.
When you guys were talking about research and putting things together,
yeah.
Fortunately, in the UK here, maybe you guys are aware, I'm a nurse, and all these things have been addressed so many times. If I tell you how many times you've seen nurses leaving the job, is because of this idea of there is people, we do have people there, but nothing changes, nothing. Year after year, you see a lot of our young girls leaving the nursing profession because they're not being supported. They don't have, there's nothing like promotion. Some of us we got into the industry before some of these new things going on. So we're already in the system, and let me use the word, we've accepted it because that's where we've been. But these young ones now coming in, I'm going to be blunt, they don't take bullshit. If it doesn't work with them, they walk out the door. Yeah. And then if you see right now, you will see a lot of the nurses, right? And I'm speaking because that's my profession. I can't talk about any other, in the health sector. But a lot of the nurses now are, their morale is quite low. They're just doing the job because they need to pay their bills. And that's one of the steady jobs that you can get, where you can have a job. And there's not right now, because of COVID and everything, you can't just leave here and there. Even the old ones, let's say from 40 above, you can't move from one place to another. So yes, the idea that you have somebody there, but things are still not changing. And I don't know how it can change yet. Maybe, I don't know. It's something that I'm just saying that the research has been done, but nothing has really changed in my own, let me say, in my profession as a nurse.
Okay, and can I ask Ellen, just before you go, in that profession, do the Black nurses have an organization? So do they have
voice?
No, right. So can I just say this, and I'm going to say this once, yeah? Born and bred here, lived here for long, lived in Nigeria. I'm not of the school of things cannot be done. I know I'm going to be very careful when I say this. It takes time. You will have challenges, but you've just answered the question. Yeah. And guess what? For you to have said that there are all these women who are working just to pay their bills as nurses, a red flag immediately, because what that tells me is you've got young women or middle-aged women, whatever, working in a job that they're not happy doing because things are not changing. But they have not sat down and come and said, right, let's form a group, let's document. We talked about scientific evidence. So let's document.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
what you're just saying, when you're talking about documentation and everything, recently something happened where all these were documented.
Sure.
There was a panel and everything.
Yeah.
And still nothing did change. There were that is when you see categories where things were highlighted, how many people took the the audit and everything. There was evidence.
Okay.
But still, like I said, nothing has changed.
That's fine. And that's very sad to hear. And I actually think something needs to be done. I just think it's a case of nothing was done, so everybody went away. And what needs to happen is when nothing is done, that's the time you call on organizations like Saffron. That's the time, yes. And this is what you're not doing as a community. You know, you're getting these blockades because they exist in the community. I'm not going to lie, there is a lot of blockades, but there are people who are ready to face those blockades. You understand? It can be done, and it might be a discussion we might need to have with you after. And I will use the Home Office program that we run every third Saturday as an example. And why I'm using the Home Office program we do is because for very many years in this country, even till date, so many people in our community are having terrible issues with immigration. It took us to approach the Home Office, the UK Home Office, and say, look, no, something's got to give. Okay, can we fix everything? No, we can't. But we are sat at that table now. It's about getting to that table. You understand? So the reason why I'm not happy to say leave it at that, because nothing happened, so many people went for their immigration status and nothing was happening. And now things, even a little light is a light. I don't believe in giving up. So it might be a conversation we could have later, and we can see where we can come in and give you guidance or signpost, because that is part of what we do. Nobody should have to just go to work as a nurse to pay their bills. That wasn't what Florence Nightingale set it up for. So we got to be very, like I always say, intentional about what we do. But thank you so much for that, because these are the stories we need to hear. You've tabled this now, and I've written it down, and we can do something about it. Okay, but we can only do that if we come together as a community. So thanks for sharing that, LM. I just want to welcome Sister Adebola is in the house. She sneaked in as she always does. Good evening, sis. How are you? It's nice to have you on board if you are there. And for anybody that has just joined us now on Facebook, we want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you for joining us this evening on SaffronSACAP Voiceover Talk Show. Now, Omoti, your hand is up again. Is that a new one or is that an old one? I don't know if you still have something you wanted to say. No? Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. I've lowered it. Brilliant. Okay, so yeah, so that was Josh. Josh has had to go away, but you heard what he said. And Josh was speaking to us from, I believe, Washington, DC in America. So you see, the mental health issues we've been talking about, we can see it's not just happening here in the UK. It seems to be happening all over, but we all have different interventions due to the fact that there are different legislations in different countries. So yes, I love the fact that he brought up Simone Biles, and I'm going to bring her up, and then I'm going to talk about the youth here. Yes, Simone Biles, who is one of the most, what will I say now? She's the most
celebrated.
She's, apart from her celebration, yes, she is the most celebrated, but she's the most decorated Black gymnastics, I think in gymnast in history. Okay. And so the powers that be in America, they were up in arms over the fact that this young lady could not handle the pressure. She was matured enough and sensible enough to take a step back, which is a message I think that we need to put out there. You need to be sensible enough to know when to step back, because it's your mental health. It's not my mental health. So if you're going through it, I don't know what you're going through. You understand? So those decisions are decisions that are not always easy for you to take. But if you can get that little strength like she got, do it. But she got the backlash. And the backlash she got was also a problem. Are you talking, Yemi? Because I think you're muted. So when we look at Simone Biles, you know, that is a typical example of, you know, the effects of mental health. And fast forward to yesterday, the A-level students had their results released. And you know, so many, there were tears of joy, there was tears of sadness. And it just sprang into my mind. And I was like, wow, we are going to have to be there for the tears of sadness, because there are going to be a lot of young people who wanted to go to university, who have got their mindset on A, B, C, D. Results have come out, and you've got many of them rushing for clearance. You've got students who are getting A star, and an E, and then a university is not taking you. And in that child's mind, they don't understand. Now, based on that, we are awaiting tomorrow's GCSE results for the GCSE students. And that is why we are not doing the segment today, but we will be covering from next week, Wednesday, up until the third week in September, or the second week in September. We will be covering the three programs we will do will be around the mental health and our young people with the GCSE and A-level results, because there will need to be some kind of support, some guidance for families, because come on, you know, there are some mums and dads who have no clue right now how they're going to cope with their young person. You know, they might not know the right steps to take. They might not know that they can go for clearance, or the child can go for clearance. They might not understand that if you don't get your first choice, you get your second choice, and you go to UCAS and you change, you know, the information. So we're going to try and have one or two professionals on here as well that will be able to give you factual information around the process. If you didn't get your first choice, you got your second choice. If you didn't get anything at all, you know, it's not the end of the world. And I'm going to say this, it's not the end of the world, okay? There are other pathways. So it's very important. So please, 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 if you have any young people that that got their GCSE results are coming out tomorrow, A-levels came out yesterday, you know, they might not want to come on the program, but please encourage them to come on. They can stay behind camera. They do not have to show their face. We would love to hear their experiences, because like we said, it's only when they talk to us, when they tell us, look at what happened, look at how it was, then we can help them, okay? Don't forget, these kids had to do this through the lockdown. It was a very uncertain period for each and every one of them. That is not how you go to school. That is not how education was supposed to be. So there's going to be quite a lot of support that our young people are going to need in the next couple of years. But we will start with this next week on our program. So thank you so much for that. And back to today, yes, we are still looking at what we have been looking at in the last 3 weeks, which is really quite deep, but yeah, we're getting there. I have something from Facebook, which I'm going to read out, and it says, how I wish Nigeria could have support for our students after college services. Great initiative, SaffronSACAP. Yes, that is not something that is oblivious to us, and we are working around that at this point in time. So details will be shared very shortly, because we are both sides of the coin, in as much as we are based here in the United Kingdom, but everybody knows we also have Saffron SDGF, Saffron Development Global Foundation, which is in Nigeria. So yes, our Nigerian family, we will be reaching out and offering support to yourselves as well. So right now I'm going to ask if there's anybody who has anything they want to add to this evening's discussions, if there's anything they want to say around the concluding part of mental health and knowing yourself. Sister Adebola, I know you're in the house. I know you've said good evening via chat. So good evening to you. Was wondering if there was anything you had to add to our conversation this evening in your professional capacity. Are you there? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Good evening, sis. Go ahead.
Good evening. I don't know. I think you just want to hear my voice. Hello, Gizzy. How are you, Gizzy? It's so good to have you back where you belong, Gizzy.
God help us.
Thank you, sis. Thank you. Ellen, you've got your hand up. Yes, I'm going to ask you. Go ahead.
Regarding this mental health, and also referring back to my nursing,
sure.
We set up something in my own hospital where right now it's going around. It's called Mind.
Right.
It's something that we just come together every Wednesday. Just try, we are between 12 and 12:30 or 12 to 1. It depends on how busy we are on the unit or in the trust.
Sure.
You can link on by Zoom, where staff can just come together, because right now, like I said, COVID and everything that's went on, it affected a lot of the medical profession.
Yeah.
Quite all right, they put it on a bold face, but honestly, it did affect a lot, even those that are, you think they are strong, it did affect everybody. So we started off this thing where you can put a suggestion in a box on what you want to do. Maybe you just want to come that day and just sing, and everybody will just listen to you, even if you have a croaky voice or whatever. Just you want to come up and do it. And then in those sessions, it's something that, I'm just putting it out there. If other people can try and get something in their own place of work, where they can just come together, just once a week, where they can just let off steam. Maybe you can just come there and teach people. Like we've had sessions where somebody will come and teach us how to, all this mind thing where you can just sit and relax, and they will go through certain things with you. So yes, it's something that, if you guys can also let other people know how they can get together once a week in wherever they are, and just try and do something to wind down, take off
the pressure,
or do something stupid or anything at all. Like we had somebody who was teaching us about plants, how to get house plants and what it does for them. And a lot of people have now started getting avocados and putting inside little containers and letting them come out, things like that. So yeah, it's something that I can say help. And with young ones, I have a young adult in my house, and regarding mental health and school and everything, one thing I've done with him is actually to sit down with him and listen to him. I know we want to give them all this information, but saying those things, are they also taking it in? You have to listen to them, what from their own side. I know we want to give them the advice, but also listen and see where they're coming from. And then you now know how to support, or if you can't do it, you now know who you can send them to help. Thank you.
Thank you so much, LM. And on behalf of Saffron, I want to say, and I know that my two directors who are present, Adebola and Yemi, we just want to say thank you to all the nurses, yourself included, for the amazing work you guys have done over the past year and a half during the COVID. You've put yourselves at risk just to make sure that we're all safe, and you've also lost colleagues during the process. So we just want to say a massive thank you to each and every one of you. You're amazing people, and it would only be right to get things right for you. I love the initiative you talked about, the mind, that 1 hour, you know, sometimes it's even at home, it's just something you need to do, sit down and switch off, and for your own mental health and for your own well-being. So that's an amazing initiative. And yes, we can share that at our parenting classes, which we will be starting shortly. And these are tips, not just for workers, these are tips for even everybody. Parents. For everybody, you know, regardless of what you're doing, it's just for you as an individual. And we just want to also, I mentioned the directors that are present, and we've got 2 of our directors who are not present just due to personal reasons, but they're fine. And that's Marcia, who is away, and also Deborah. Deborah normally comes on. Deborah has been on this last 2 weeks talking about mental health in children, which is her speciality. And Marcia, who is our youth engagement director, she's not in today, but hopefully they will be back with us very shortly. So yeah, we're having that conversation, and it's a conversation that needs to be had. And I love what you said, Ellen, when you said we need to listen, because what would we be advising or guiding them on if we're not listening to them? And honestly, I'm personally, from a personal point of view, I'm very worried for the youth, especially with what has gone on in the past two years, even pre-COVID. You know, career guidance has left schools. These kids are taking exams, and when you ask them what you want to do, they don't always know what they want to do. I have a young girl who's got into university, and she now doesn't want to go. And what came out of her mouth is, I don't know where my life is going. This is a 16-year-old. So you see, these are the kind of situations that you see in the community that, you know, they worry you. But I think we need to stand strong as a community and be there for these young people. And like you said, Ellen, let's listen to them. Let's hear what their challenges are. And from there, we now take steps to be able to help them. And one thing I will say, parents, please, results week. Do not make these kids feel any worse than they are already feeling. You know, I remember, and I will say this out, I'm not ashamed, when I did my GCSEs, I got 4. Yeah, I'm very intelligent. I just got 4 because I flunked, right? Got home, crying my eyes out. And the first thing my mother said to me is, why are you crying? And I said, Mommy, I needed 5, I got 4. And she said, it's not the end of the world. She said, you don't give up, you try. So please don't make these kids, because we do have the tendency out of love to want to push our kids to be the best. But sometimes what we do is we push them right away. I'm guilty of that as well. So I'm just saying, you know, I know we're very good parents, and I know our intentions are amazing, but let's just be careful how we say, you know, does that person have 2 heads? No, let's do away with all that, and let's just support them, especially this week. It's going to be a very tender week in some homes, but we at Saffron wish you all the best. And like I said, we are here. Look out for our parenting classes, which will be starting soon virtually. We are here to offer guidance and support around every aspect of parenting and family life. Okay, so on this note, Adebola, you sang for me. You didn't tell me anything, so I shall not be asking you to unmute again. Thank you very much. But if there's anybody else that would like to add to this week's conversation before we round up for the evening. I don't know if Mr. Ecobulus, do you have anything you'd like to add, sir? It would be lovely to hear your voice. Have I just put you on the spot?
Nothing to add. You guys, it was really nice what you guys are doing, and I mean, you guys have pretty much said everything, so
okay,
it's nice, and I learned quite a bit as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's a pleasure. You know, as always, we've always said the more the merrier, and I do love when our family come on from Nigeria, because you see, we can help each other across the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, whatever ocean we cross to get there. I don't even know now, but you know, we can help each other both ways. And I know there are a lot of Nigerian students who will be coming over to the UK in September. So it's important we are having these discussions. It is important as parents, We are talking to the children who are coming over to a new community, to a new environment. You know, the law works here. You know, there's no, my father is the commissioner. The law works here. And it's important we tell the kids, because they are vulnerable when they come into a new community. They are very vulnerable. So it's very important that we're letting our young ones know that when they come here, they need to abide by the rules. And, you know, if you have friends or family who are sending their young ones over, please give them Saffron's details. Point them in our direction. It's important. I would not want to be called to a police station, because by then it's too late. We are a safeguarding organization. We are very hot on prevention. So we don't want things to happen. We want to be able to, and I don't pray for anything like that with our young people. But guess what? The universities and the colleges, things happen, as we all know. Yeah. So we need to stand in the gap. And as an organization, that is what we would want to be doing for these young people coming over. And we wish them all the best. So thank you, Mr. Bullis. Thank you so much. Okay, Yam, I'm going to hand over to you before we round up. I'm just checking my time. Okay, that's fine. Go ahead, Yam.
More? Oh, I don't have very much to say. I just really want to say thank you to everyone who's joined us this evening. It was great to have Josh on. He is a member of the family now, so you definitely will be seeing Josh more often. And hopefully he can bring a lot more young people. Just like Saffron, he also works across the waters between the USA and Nigeria. So it will prove very interesting. This is why we meet people and we form partnerships, so we can reach out further to so many more people. Great eye opener, great. And Liz, I say that introduction to Josh was made by Jacqueline Adebija. So she met Josh quite a while ago and said, you know what, this is the organization I am also engaged with in the UK, and it will be a good thing for you to engage. Hence, here we are. So if you actually see professionals that you think and organizations that you feel we can collaborate with, we can work in tandem with, in partnership with, to make a better society, please reach out, send them our way. We are here with open arms. Just the same way we've collaborated with the 4Gs, Omoti, and her organization as well. So yeah, let's join hands and let's change this world together. You know that song? Make this world a better place.
A better place. Reach out and touch.
It is for real. It is for real.
Yeah.
So that's me done.
Thank you so much, Yemi. Thank you.
Did you want something to say, sis? Oh, before I go, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Many happy returns. Please give us 30 seconds.
Yeah. Unmute yourself, can you? There you go.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this evening, and I learned from the guy from America. I really learned from him very well, and I wish if we can have I don't know if he has a group for the teenagers. I would love my son to join such group as well, to learn from them.
Not a problem. We will get back to him on that, and I'm sure he would be happy, more than happy to do that, because that is the essence of the partnerships. And you know, like Yemi said, we are bridging the gap, and that's basically what he's doing as well. So we have the same mission. So we will get back to you that on Moti, definitely.
Can I ask for forgiveness from all my Facebook friends and family? I have been your host this evening on Facebook, and I just literally skipped my mind to say thank you everyone who's joined me on Facebook this evening. It's been amazing. The communication has been awesome, and I really appreciate. If I start to mention everyone, I think we probably might not leave here this evening. We've had my mom, Alice, the Unitary, who's been watching us. We've had Rachel Inodi, all the way from Lagos as well, and quite a few people have joined us. Rachel, thank you for joining us. Adewale Fashola, thank you so much for joining us as well. please. And all so many members from the 4G group. Thank you so much for continuing to support us every week. We appreciate you. We do not take you for granted.
Thank you, Yemi. Thank you. So guys, thank you so much for this evening. And please remember, all of those who are expecting their GCSE results tomorrow, the best of luck. May you all get the results that your heart desires. And if in any case you don't, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. You can, there are other pathways, but we wish for nothing more than success for all of you. And we want to say we will be covering next week's program will be all about your results, how we can help, support, guide you, your parents, your family, uncles and aunties, and even the international students that probably took exams and didn't make the desired results. So, there is success in failure. That's one thing you need to understand. And there can be success in failure. So thank you so much this evening for joining us, everybody. Thank you, Facebook family. It was amazing to have you all on. LM, God bless you. Be safe. Thank you so much for all you do for us in the NHS. Jacqueline, thank you so much for your contribution. Wura, yes, the teenage thing, we will get on that. So good evening, Wura. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Guys, congratulations, guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you. Sister Debola, please do not sing for me. It was amazing having you on. Good night. Mr.
If you want singing lessons, don't worry. I don't mind giving it to her.
I know. Tell me about it. Incidentally.
Oh, come on. That voice was lovely, Ellen. And that, come on. That was X Factor.
The real X Factor person is here.
That was X Factor. I was just bringing the bird out of the pocket. I'm not there yet.
Okay. Put the bird away for tonight, and we'll have the bird next week. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly say, LM is one of the members of the Lewisham Choir, who went up against Justin Bieber, I think a year or 2 years ago, and they got the first spot. So yes.
Oh my God! Well
my claim to fame. Yes, and she was my classmate many moons ago. We won't go there, will we, LM? But yeah,
no.
That's our claim to fame. So thank you so much, Mr. Bullet. Thank you, Omoti. Please, everybody, stay safe. Enjoy the rest of the summer, and give all the young ones a hug from us. Yeah, because they need it. And we'll be back next week, Wednesday, the same time, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I am your director for programs, and I'm signing out. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.